Hello everyone, Professor Torres here for the continuation of tourism products. So last week you learned about tourism product, the different A's of tourism products such as attractions, accessibility, accommodation, and amenities. We also learn the different characteristics of tourism products. So, for this presentation, what we will see are the different types of tourism products and the other tourism products that we don't think that they are products. Okay, so I hope that after listening to this presentation, you will be able to understand the many varieties of tourism products being offered to tourists. But before we start, let us remind ourselves of the definition of what tourism product is. Tourism product is a combination of the tangible and intangible elements such as natural and cultural and man-made resources, attractions, facilities, services, and activities around the specific center of interest, which represents the core of the destination marketing mix and creates an overall visitor experience, including emotional aspects for the potential customers. This is the definition given to us by the United Nations World Tourism Organization. So, again, we would like to highlight the characteristics of the tourism product. It says here that it is something that is combined, it has tangible and intangible elements. The product can be in a natural form and it can be part of a cultural offering. It is also something that can be made by man. It can be an attraction. It can be a simple facility. It can be services and other activities. So these are all sold to the tourists depending on what is their motivation for traveling and what is their preference probably for that specific moment. And this is the mix that we are offering to the tourist that we expect to create an overall visiting experience, thereby giving them a satisfaction. Okay, so what are the different types of tourism products? First, we have the natural tourism products. And when we say natural, it includes natural resources such as areas, climate, and its setting, the landscape, and the natural environment. So for us to have the idea of what these are, so we have here examples. Like for example, it's a countryside. The climate temperature that we are referring to could be there's rain, there's snowfall. It's actually a tropical place that is full of sunshine. It can be the natural beauty of the place, like for example the landform, the hills, the terrain. It can be also another natural resource such as water in the form of lakes, ponds, rivers, waterfalls, and springs. It can also be the flora and fauna, like what we have seen previously. It can be the wildlife or beaches, islands, spas, and scenic attractions. So I guess you know now how to categorize your the many things that you have seen and probably you have experienced during your previous travels. What are the man-made tourism products? So man-made tourism products are usually traditions that people or that a certain group of people would like to share with us. It can be pilgrimages, it can be fairs and festivals, like for example, coffee festival or Boryong Mud festival, or it could be like the coffee fair. or the wine fair. It can also be arts and handicrafts, like for example, the one that we have here. Okay? And dance, like this one, okay? And also music, like I think this is arirang, and then is there another group of people who would like to share their music, and also the folklore or the stories of the tribal people or stories of a certain group of people, and also their native life and customs. Okay? So anything that you see in the place, especially if you go to a cultural destination or if your purpose is cultural tourism, all of this is part of the product that you will see. Okay. So another man-made tourism products are products that are really made up for a certain purpose. And so, we're talking about amusement and recreation parks, such as this one. Or more that is not on the picture is like eWorld, like Disneyland, like Safari Land. Okay? We also have sporting events, like for example, this. I think this is basketball. It can be a soccer event. It can be a tennis. It can be hockey, or it can be anything that spectators would like to see. It can be zoos and oceanariums. So this is an example of an oceanarium wherein we go to a place and see what are the different creatures of the sea. And then, of course, we know what a zoo is. A zoo is a place where we can see a lot of animals that we don't normally see. So we have to go to the zoo and check out what are the animals that we haven't seen on regular basis. We also have some cinemas, okay, and theater. You know what's a cinema? A cinema is a place where you watch your favorite movie, or a theater is a place where people would stage like maybe a play, like Les Miserables, or like the Phantom of the Opera. Okay? Then we also have nightlife. What is a nightlife? It can be represented by the bars, by the karaoke rooms, or maybe just simply a place where people can enjoy dancing and drinking, but basically not so much food. Okay. Or it can be cuisine. Like, for example, you go to a certain place like Jeonju to enjoy their food. So you see here some examples. Okay. Now, there are also man-made tourism products that are meant for business. So when we say meant for business, we are talking about conventions and conferences. And conventions can be a gathering of professionals about a certain idea. Same also with a conference wherein we invite people to speak, to present their papers, and usually this is done for purposes of professional growth. Okay? Now, there's what we call symbiotic tourism products. So when we say symbiotic tourism products, these are products which are a blending of wildlife sanctuary, marine parks, aerial parks, aerial products water sports, flower festivals of nature, and of man. So we blend nature. It's not just simply the natural attraction, but we add more so that we can have more reasons for people to invite, for people to see the place. So nature has provided the resource, like for example that falls, like Niagara, okay? And man has converted them into a tourist product. How? By managing them, by coming up with some infrastructure to support the tourism activity. Okay, example is a national park. Moving on, we have different examples of symbiotic tourism products. First, we have the aerial adventure. So we all know that people would want to do activities aside from seeing the place. So we have here several activities on the slide that probably you can identify, right? So like for example, from this side going down, and also going this way, and also going this way, and going up. So what are these activities? First is we have parachuting. Okay, do we have an example of parachuting? Can you see? So I guess this is it. And we also have skydiving. Okay, so people would usually go up in the air being carried by a helicopter, and from a certain height they're going to do a skydive. Another would be, oh yeah, I'm sorry, this is the no, this is the parachute probably, and the skydiving is this one. We also have hang gliding. So what is hang gliding? This one. Also paragliding. So if you don't see the picture in there, probably you can just look for it in the internet and see for yourself examples of paragliding. Okay, there's also parasailing. Okay, so sailing is not only on the water, but you sail on air. So where is that? And it can also be bungee jumping. Have you experienced doing that activity? Bungee jumping. And also we have ballooning. Okay, so it makes use of a hot air balloon that they usually heat up for the balloon to go up in the air and maybe see the view of the whole place, like probably it's a wine region. Okay, and moving on, we have water-based activities. What are water-based activities? So we enjoy the sea, we enjoy the river, or we enjoy the lake, and then we can do some activities like the white water rafting. I don't think I have that one there. Okay, another one is canoeing and kayaking. Okay, do you find the picture? If not, then you can probably look for it and maybe see for yourself how it looks like. We also have different adventure sports in the waters of the sea, like windsurfing, scuba diving, snorkeling, yachting, water skiing, etc. Okay. Next, land-based. So land-based can be done according to the climate condition or according to the season. Like for example, the ski activity, the snow ski activity is a land based, but it has to be the winter time. Okay, so what are the activities of land based symbiotic tourism products? Rock climbing, mountaineering, trekking, skiing, heli skiing, motor rally, and the safaris. So check out for yourself. So it's a good way for you to understand this would be maybe to look for the photo that represents the examples. And again, if it's not there, probably you can check it out. Then we also have event-based tourism products. So when an event is an attraction, it has an event-based tourist product. Events attract tourists as spectators and also as participants in the event. Examples are Oktoberfest in Germany, Dubai and Singapore Shopping Festival, kite flying in Ahmedabad, and snake boat race in Kerala. Event attractions are temporary and often mounted in order to increase the number of tourists to a particular destination. So that's the Oktoberfest. This is the Kerala. This is the snake boat race in Kerala, and this are pictures or photos, or a picture or photo of a shopping festival. Are you good? So let's see more. We also have site-based tourist products. So maybe you know where that picture is. So that's a Taj Mahal in Agra, India. So site-based tourist product is when an attraction is a place or a site. Site attractions are permanent in nature. So, meaning to say, if you want to see the attraction, you really have to go to the destination for you to appreciate it and probably take some photos. Examples are the Taj Mahal, the Great Wall of China, the Grand Canyon in Arizona, Eiffel Tower, Statue of Liberty, Big Ben, and so many more. Okay? Next, recreation based tourism products. So, this can be the many examples that you see: duty free shops, malls, cinema halls, theater, theme parks, amusement parks, resorts, and these are some photos to give you an idea. Although, of course, we have already mentioned this as a man made tourism products, but still, for purposes of giving you a variety of tourism products, I am also sharing it with you as a recreation based tourism products. Other tourism products. So now, as we look forward to see the other tourism products, maybe you can recall what are the products that you have consumed, that you have done, that you have seen as you recall the many travels that you have done. So, before I show you the next tourism products, I'd like to invite you to really maybe choose the best three tourism products that you enjoy. So that will be the next activity that you will have in your travel plan. We have other products. Number one, health tourism. What is health tourism? Travel to various countries for treatment of various ailments and medical procedures like cardio care, bone marrow transplant, urology, joint replacement, and other numerous diseases. Think, and also it includes cosmetic surgery. Okay, so we know what's cosmetic surgery. That's an enhancement of the physical features of a person. And there are also alternative medicines like homeopathy, acupressure, Ayurvedic medicine, and naturopathy. So, if in case there are words here that you do not know, please don't just let it you do not know. Feel free to list down those words and check it out for yourself to find out what does it mean. That's how we learn, okay? Yoga also and rejuvenation packages is part of health tourism. Now, what is something I don't know if you will believe and I don't know if you will agree with me that also tourists travel for what is illegal in one own's country? Like, for example, abortion. Abortion is the killing of the baby in the womb. So, in other countries, like for example in the Philippines, it's not or it cannot be done as a legal procedure. It is an illegal practice when you do abortion. But sometimes, if it gives like a side effect or it gives, like, for example, a disease or it complicates the pregnancy, sometimes doctors would think of doing the abortion just to save one life. Sometimes you can just save the life of the mother, or maybe you can, yeah, save the life of the mother. And so it needs to be done. Okay, but I don't say I agree with this, but I'm just giving you an example. And like for example, in the case of the Philippines, we don't do this legally. So what people would usually do is to go to another country that is open to do this procedure. Like I have a cousin who underwent an abortion because the baby has a lot of complications, and there's a possibility that it can also kill her. And so the doctor, even though she doesn't like it, the doctor suggested that she do this activity. Okay, so also euthanasia. What is euthanasia? Euthanasia is mercy killing. Sometimes people who are suffering from certain disease or certain illness that they cannot bear anymore would usually request for this activity. And so again, there are countries that do not perform this. And so tourists would go to a place that would, you know, do this one. It's under health tourism, but it's not really a common reason why people would travel to another place. Okay? Moving on, we have ecotourism. Ecotourism is a tourism that combines the local economic development, the protection of the quality of the environment, and promotion of the natural advantages and the history of an area. So remember, we're talking about symbiotic tourism products, or we're talking about a combined tourism product. And so this ecotourism is after the local economic development. And not only the local economic development, but also the protection of the environment and the promotion of the natural advantages and history of an area. So, what are the inclusions? What kind of activities that can be included as an ecotourism product? So, tour packages can involve gastronomy, which is about food. It can also be entertainment and information about the cultural wealth of a country or of a region or of an area. Okay, so this is an example. So, local development, local economic development, like this one, if you see from the top view, we have a very beautiful waterfalls here. And as you see, the place is not yet developed. Now, some people or some tourism entrepreneurs, maybe, or managers, destination managers, can think of that as, I would say, a possible tourist attraction. So, what they can probably do would be to train, or maybe to cooperate or to collaborate with the local people and come up with something that they can do out of the destination. So this one is the protection of the quality of the environment. So if you see, this is a big turtle that just walks anywhere. So probably it's a sanctuary of this creature. And so they let it that way, but they allow people to see it. Okay? And like this one, I think is an area where there is a lot of vegetations, a lot of I would say a lot of interesting plants, maybe, and other vegetations that are very that can be of interest to people who are fond of looking at this kind of products or nature's gift. Okay, now we also have rural tourism. The rural tourism is a tourism that showcases the rural life, meaning to say the opposite of urban. I think in Korea you call it the shigol. Okay, so rural life, the art, the culture, and heritage at rural locations. Now, this is a good activity, or this activity is something new to tourism, and it was intentional to offer rural tourism for reasons that it benefits local community. I'm sorry, there's a double local there. Local community economically, meaning they can benefit, they can make money out of some activities, like probably by doing demonstration, by selling their product, and socially because of the interaction between the tourists and the locals for a more enriching tourism experience. Okay, so it is multifaceted. Farm and agricultural tourism can be an example. Multifaceted would mean it can be, again, a combination. So it can be anything that they can combine together to showcase the place, like farm or agricultural tourism. It can be cultural tourism. It can be nature tourism or adventure tourism or ecotourism. So when you hear about farm tourism, then expect that in the farm there can be some plants. Oh no, there can be some animals that they will show you in a natural habitat wherein you'll be given sometimes the opportunity to feed them or maybe to bathe them. Or it can be an agricultural tourism wherein you can be invited to probably do the planting or do or harvest the product. Cultural tourism, we know what is that about. Nature as well. Adventure is something that you participate in the activity. And ecotourism, which we previously discussed. Also, increasing level of awareness lead to a growing interest in heritage and culture and improve accessibility and environmental consciousness. We have to remember that when we do this tourism activity, it has to be something that is a win-win thing. Like, for example, if tourists would go to the place and would get knowledge and experience, or probably even skills about the local culture, about the people, about the heritage, and about the culture, we have to remember that it has also to benefit the local community. Okay? And so, in that case, both win. The host community wins by having some economic benefit as well as socially, and together they work on sustainability, like environmental consciousness. So, tourism is, they say it's actually a way of learning wherein you need not to read a book, but you have to go to the destination. Okay. Now, another interesting product is spiritual tourism. What is spiritual tourism? When people when living under conditions of stress turn to spirituality. Sometimes people don't feel like going to the mall or going to touristy places, but instead, their preference for rest would be to go to a place where they can have peace of mind. Okay, so Eastern world is considered to be very spiritual, with many of the New Age gurus and their hermitages. Gurus are actually people who teaches people. Guru is a word that I think it's Indian, but it means teacher. And hermitages are people who have the wisdom that they usually share with other people. So tourists visit places to attend spiritual discourses, meaning to say they talk about how to have that peace of mind, how to release the stress from their body, and teaching them how to do meditation activities. And we have here examples such as the Osho Foundation, the Art of Living Foundation, and the Buddhist monasteries. Okay? Are you good? Moving forward, we still have a few more. Ethnic tourism. So, ethnic is traveling for the purpose of observing the cultural expressions of lifestyles of truly exotic people. So, when we say exotic people, these are usually people that do not belong or that do not prefer to live in an environment where there's so many people. They want to have their own community, they want to live according to the way of life that they believe is right, and they just want to be in that small community because that's for them is how to live life. However, there are some people or tribes who are very willing to share their culture, to share their ethnicity. And so we tourism came up with this ethnic tourism where people observe the cultural expressions of the lifestyles of these exotic people. So, one example here is a travel to Panama to study the San Blas Indians. I think I have a picture later. Another is to observe the isolated hill tribes of Assam in India. And what are the typical activities? So, typical destination activities would be the visit to the native home, attending traditional ceremonies and dances, and participating in religious rituals. So, that is the Panaman that are representative of the San Blas Indians, and these are the Assam of India. Okay, now if you find this interesting, I invite you to look for more. Go to the internet and probably see for yourself some examples about this ethnic tourism. And I think this is the last kind of tourism product. We have the senior citizen tourism, or sometimes this is called uh, silver tourism. Okay, so it's a newly emerging trend for senior citizens or old people who live in isolation. So, senior people are less demanding in the form of facilities and services, and their main consideration is on a personalized service. Why? Because these people, they do have the money, okay? They do have the time to travel because they are retired. However, their mobility is less. So, their physical agility is not that same compared to people who are in their 20s or 30s. Okay, so we have some pictures here to show to you. So these are seniors and these are seniors. So preferential activities are simple activities like, agritourism, something that does not challenge them physically, and they enjoy doing those activities. Okay, so now aside from this, there are still more. I'm just showing you some things that has been written in several books, but there are also other types of tourism. Like, for example, it was mentioned by one student this semester about the dark tourism, or it's known as the Thana tourism, wherein the activity is visiting the graveyard of people, famous people who are dead, like, for example, presidents of the United States, or even Michael Jackson, or even the king, like you do it here also in Korea. And when we say also dark tourism, it is something that has a sad history or sad story. Like, for example, bombings, like the nuclear bombing, like earthquakes, like there was like the 9/11. These are histories, or these are part of histories that people are, they're interested to get to know more about this. And it can become a tourism product also. And what else? There are also other specialized tourism activities, like, for example, there is what we call luxury tourism. When we say luxury tourism, the kind of the tourism activity is very special or extraordinary. Why do I say that? Because people who join this kind of tourism activity is the 1% people in the world. These are the very, very rich people who can afford to probably have their own planes, have their own islands, and they are the affluent, the very rich people. And so the activities are special. Again, you can check it out. Then what else? We also have sports tourism, okay? And any other tourism that you can think about. There are so many. And some people are, giving a name for it because it's a special activity. And so I challenge you, aside from the experiences that you um, have been, the experiences that probably are part of your travel, to really think creatively of other tourism products that you can offer in the market. You are very smart, so I challenge those people who would like to do more for the activity, not just to share three tourism products that they have done or experienced before, but also maybe if you're interested, three or other, or not three, no limit, or yeah, no limit, or maybe other tourism products that you know, that you can think about, and that I did not share in this presentation. Okay, so I hope these are the references that I used. I hope that you learned something from this presentation. I hope that I excite you about the many products that tourism can offer. And again, I always say this: don't just be contented with listening and hearing from me. Challenge yourself. Your activity for the travel journey would be to share three tourism products that you have experienced during your previous travel. And if you can, you may share tourism products that you know, that you have heard about, and that I did not cover here. So, again, I would like to thank you for your patience listening to this presentation. I hope you take down notes to some of the words that are not familiar to you, and you have that inquisitive mind to look for it in the internet. Or if you find that you don't want to do it and you want to bring it into our class discussion, yeah, okay.